My name is Amanda Baker. I teach 7th grade and 8th grade math, and I teach Algebra 1. And so the paperless classroom was kind of born out of the idea that we have to have immediate specific feedback for students in math, because there's nothing worse than having a math student come in and misunderstand a critical concept. It's like me being introduced to this beautiful young lady here in the front, and I hear the name Sheila. Well, her name was Shelly, but every time I see her, I see her, associate with her with ARI, I'm going to think Sheila, not Shelly, or vice versa. So when students come in and they have those misconceptions, and the longer it goes, the more they practice it, the more that's burned in there, and it's really hard to correct that. So the paperless classroom is the concept that I will have more collaboration with my students, so that not only can I provide immediate feedback when I'm working with students in small groups or individually, but if students are working together in small groups, then they can provide that feedback as well. So my current classroom is set up at their desks, which most of us have. How many of y'all have desks in your classroom? Just the regular old desks. So I have those arranged in quads so that my students are working in groups. However, what I find is that those desks don't exactly line up with each other. So if we're working with manipulatives or card sorts or things that we use in math all the time, those will drop between the desks. And right now my students use textbooks. Excuse me. So when they have a textbook assignment, they'll have out a sheet of paper and they're writing their answers. And while I encourage them to talk and collaborate in class, especially if I can't sit down with each individual group, they can't always see what the other person is writing on their piece of paper. So my idea is to have, and what I used the ARI grant money for, was to purchase tables for my classroom that have whiteboard tops. So what the students will actually do in class is that they will write all of their assignments on the whiteboards. These are in-class assignments only, so that one student can look over at another group member and they can say, oh, well, this is what you're doing, I need to do that, or I don't think that that's what you're supposed to do. So we practice those concepts in the classroom, providing feedback with each other that's constructive. So you kind of have to work on that with middle schoolers. It's a little easier with Algebra 1. But also with the grant money, I've purchased a Cricut. And so what I'm going to do with that Cricut is make coordinate grids and coordinate planes to adhere to all the tables, because it uses an enormous amount of paper when kids have to graph. They might be graphing the slope, or they might be graphing lines, or they might even just putting points on a coordinate plane, but they will redraw that and do it over and over, and they use an enormous amount of paper. So those will all be adhered to the tables. And of course I can use that Cricut for so many other things. Like we can use that to, I can even make posters for my classroom with that, because we don't have a poster maker at our school. So you can put those things on the walls. You can hear them adhere the vinyl to the steps outside. So it's something that the kids can constantly see as well. Also, because I'll have them do some of those things in the classroom and collaborate with each other, I needed something that they could do when they go home that's not just textbooks, so that I can give them that immediate feedback. Well, I can't go home with all the kids. We know how that is. But what I've found is a program called mangahigh.com. Now, the way this program works is that the standards are set up inside the program so that you can make assignments to the students based on the standard that you're teaching that week. So I usually try to pick out 2 or 3 assignments. They go home. They have to have internet connection, which most of our children do, and plus we provide a device for them to get online. They go home, they work on those concepts. And when they answer a question, it will provide immediate feedback. Okay, yes, it's wrong, or it's right, it's wrong because. If it's correct, it will differentiate that lesson for them. So it might take them up to a different level. It'll take them up to a higher level. So while I might assign an Algebra 1 concept, they could even move on into trigonometry, and they'll move on to geometry and other concepts. So not only does it provide specific, immediate feedback to those students when they can't collaborate in the classroom, but it will also differentiate for them. So what the ARI grant did for me was that it allowed me to purchase tables for my classroom to encourage more collaboration between the students to provide that immediate feedback, and it also allowed me to purchase the tool to create the manipulatives that they would see and adhere to the tables. But then my district also supported me by purchasing the Manga High, which I really like. Any questions?